Hey yo, what's up y'all? This is episode 2 of This Could Be You, 5-part series of my Stay Motivated and Opinionated podcast. It's the second episode. Uh Glad to be with you as always. Um just a recap of the first episode. I kind of introduced y'all to myself. My name is Brian Rashawn Lewis. Brian B. Nice Lewis, as most folks know me, and DJ God's Gift. And I was just letting you know about the first 19 years of my life before my car accident. Uh, I told you everything I used to do, how I was raised, and then I left out some things. I was a professional model. I danced, sung, rapped, uh, performed, um, had was in many groups, played the drums, was in a marching band, track, cross country, cheerleading, uh, played basketball. Um, I was pretty much in everything. Mimed, step team. Uh, like I said, just pretty much anything that you can imagine. I was always, life of the party, a jokester, loved to have fun, bubbling personality. Even when I had an ugly smile when I was younger before I got braces and you see these pearly whites, um, I was still always smiling, always a fun kid, fun person to be around. And like I always tell people, I wouldn't trade my first 19 years of living for anything. Got a chance to go to Disney World. Uh, um, Shout out to my all my pastors and people who I grew up with, family, friends, people that brought me up in the churches as well as my parents, Billy and Patricia Lewis, that adopted me at 2 months. So I'm just kind of recapping everything from the first episode. But the cliffhanger where I left y'all off that, and mind you, I'm recording this from a nursing home, so if y'all hear my door open and close, it's probably my roommate, going in and out. Or if y'all hear stuff over the intercom or something like that, don't mind it. Like I said, I'm in a nursing home right now, trying to transition back home. So and that's coming soon. Thank God for that. So don't mind that. Just focus on my voice in the video. But anyway, um, where I left y'all at was, them putting me on the little gurney backboard thing, wrapping my neck around because they, pretty much figured, I couldn't move anything. All I could move was my mouth and my eyes. And they told me not to move my neck. They put a neck brace around me. They had to cut me out with the jaws of life. Like I said, I still to this day can hear that crunching sound of them cutting my door open. But like I said, they put a little neck brace around my neck, put me on the backboard, cut my door out, and then once they got me on the backboard, got me on a, gurney or whatever, and then got me in an ambulance. I think it was Johnston Ambulance Service, Jazz, I believe. Uh, what they did, they were, of course, trying to get me straight. They were asking me questions because they knew I had a, you know, traumatic or a very serious injury to my neck because I was telling them I couldn't move anything. And from the neck down, I couldn't move anything. My limbs, my arms, my legs, any of that. Um, couldn't feel anything. But so they kept asking me questions, trying to keep me awake because, I kept trying to. I was weak. I kept trying to doze off, things like that. So they were asking me, what's your name? What's your social security number? What's your phone? What's your house phone number? What's your cell phone number? What's your, you know, your parents' cell phone numbers? what's your emergency contact numbers, things like that, just to keep me awake. And it worked. It worked. They drove me straight from Princeton all the way to Raleigh to Wake Med, uh, the main Wake Med Medical Center or hospital. And I remember before they got me through the double doors, I died. I flatlined for 5 minutes. Flatlined for 5 minutes. Now, 5 minutes is, you might think that's short, but that is an eternity when it comes to the body. Because if you don't bring that person to life, back to life, brain damage, uh, vital organs, things like that can come into place. And they could have called it, but they didn't. And I thank God it didn't. But anyway, I died for 5 minutes, and they incubated me. Um, put tube down my throat, stuff like that. And so I was on life support, literally life support, for 3 days. The accident happened on a Monday, October 11th of 2010, and I was on life support for 3 days. Um, my mom told me that when they got the call, um, they heard about the other guys that were with me, Leon, uh, Mark, and Dimitri. Leon, Dimitri, my cousins, Mark, my best friend. Now, what happened to them was, yeah, I remember I said that I kept Dimitri from going out, getting ejected out the window because his window was 3/4 down, and none of them had a seatbelt on, but I was the only one with a seatbelt on, and so I leaned over to keep him from going out the window. Um, he had a dislocated shoulder, I believe. Leon, I think, just had some scrapes and bruises. And I think Mark had a concussion. I might have got them two mixed up, but I know one of them had scrapes and bruises and the other one had a concussion. But they weren't like seriously injured like I was. And I thank God for that, because I wouldn't have been able to have that on my conscience. But I just remember, like I said, I remember waking up that Wednesday or Thursday. It was either like Wednesday evening or Thursday, because my parents didn't really leave my side. And it's crazy because the people that I stayed with when I was in Greensboro before the day before the accident, um, they heard about it, and I was on Facebook, and I got a lot of family and friends. And once it started spreading around like wildfire, I remember my mom went down to the main lobby, and she went down and she went to the front desk because there were so many people there that Monday, to Tuesday, to Wednesday, throughout the whole week. And I remember my mom said that the lady at the front desk said that like both sides of the lobby were full. Like, and she said, "Ma'am, are all these people here to see your son?" And she looked around and she said, "Yeah." And she said, "Ma'am, I don't know who your son is, but he must have been a special person, because all these folks keep asking to see him, and how's he doing?" And it's crazy because I knew people cared about me. I'm not going to act like people didn't care about me. But I didn't know that many people cared about me to where, like, they would come in to try and see me all through that week. Like from that Monday to the next Monday. I'll touch on that in a minute. But yeah, man, like, I didn't know that many people cared about me like that. And my mom didn't know. Once I left the house, she would just pray over me, and my dad either. They would just like, pray that he comes home safely, and he's not getting in anything bad, which they knew I wasn't. But once I left the house, other than going to work, they didn't know, or going to play ball, or lift weights, or going to a friend's house. They didn't know what else I was doing, other than dancing and stuff like that. Cause I would go to clubs and stuff, but you know, they didn't knew, but they finally knew, like, wow, our son, we raised a good son. Like, our son means a lot to some people. Like, he's touched a lot of people's lives, and I really didn't know I touched that many people's lives. I'm just being Brian Rashawn Lewis. I'm just being me. I love people. I care about people. I'm always trying to be there for people. I get the shirt off my back to anybody. Never treated people differently. Even my enemies, just pray for them, and even some of us became cool. At some point. But yeah, it was just a shock to know that many people cared about me. But after they were able to bring me back to life, well, God brought me back to life, but He used their hands to bring me back to life. They incubated me and stuff like that. I remember the doctors coming to tell my mom and dad. They were like, "Your son, I have never seen someone with such a strong heart." They were like, if your son hadn't been, I could tell he was very active. And if he hadn't been as active as he was, he would not have survived the accident initially, or survived the 8-hour surgery that I had. Yes, I went through a 8-hour neck fusion surgery, and I broke my neck in the C4, between the C4 and C7 area. I'm not even supposed to do any of this. I can't move my fingers. I can feel them. I just can't move them. And I can move my wrist. I can kind of move my thumbs, but just a little bit. But I really can't move my fingers. So, but and I can move my upper body. So you see me moving. The ones that just hear my voice, you can't see me moving. But yeah, I'm moving. But I can move my upper body. Just can't move my legs, and I can't move my fingers. And I can move my neck, however I want to. But yeah, I got metal rods in my neck, and I tell you the difference between a incomplete break and a complete break. A complete break of anything, whether it's the spine, your arm, a broken arm, broken wrist, broken leg, whatever. A complete break means the bone is completely severed. Like, it is not attached to anything. It is completely severed. An incomplete break means that it's still intact, but it needs to be repaired, meaning surgery has to be involved. And thank God, I don't know how, from flipping 5 times and my head hitting the headrest and the top of the roof, that all I got away with was an incomplete break. You think about that. All that flipping, we flipped 5 times. All that rocking, with me having the seatbelt on. So I was like strapped in. So wherever I was going, my head was gonna stay still, even with me leaning over to keep my cousin from going out the window. Wherever the car went, that's where my head was gonna bobble, because the seatbelt kept me in. So it's just amazing, and glory to God that I had an incomplete break. But still, as high as it is, I should not be able to do what I am doing right now. I shouldn't be able to talk to y'all right now. I shouldn't be able to move my wrist, stretch my arms out, do anything with my upper body that I'm able to do right now. Because most people that have breaks as high as I had are either turned into vegetables, they can't move, they got to blow their wheelchair with a straw. Thank God I can uh, move my wheelchair with my hand. I got a power wheelchair and stuff like that. So yeah, uh, there's a lot of things that wasn't supposed to happen that ended up happening. And I'm sorry about the noise in the background. You know, it's just me moving with the mic. The mic is very sensitive, but I apologize for that. But like I said, I'm not in a studio. I'm recording this from a nursing home. But you know, anyway, I make it do what it do. But I stayed at Wake Med for a week. Of course, had a lot of visitors, but my mom and dad knew that I needed rest and I needed to recover. So they stopped visitors from visiting me on that Wednesday. And of course, a lot of family members, a lot of friends that were mad and things like that. But, you know, you got to understand that they were trying to look out for their son. And I needed every bit of rest, every bit of, you know, no communication, no type of, you know, distractions. So my spirit, because I was in the spirit realm at the time. I'm on life support, so I'm not breathing on my own. There's a machine breathing for me until I show signs that I can breathe on my own. You know, and when I finally woke up, I think it was either, like I said, that Wednesday night or that Thursday, because like I said, I was on life support for 3 days. When I woke up, I mean, just imagine a 19-year-old waking up with tubes that all down his throat. Y'all seen some of the pictures. Tubes all down his throat, can't move his arms, can't move his legs, looking around, wondering what the hell just happened. And then I remembered, oh my God, I was in an accident. And this is how selfless I was. The first thing I did, when I woke up, my parents saw me move. They saw me, you know, turn my head and stuff. And they both, you know, came to my bedside. And were like they were trying to give me, my mom, of course, trying to give me a kiss on the forehead and say, "Oh God, son, thank God." You know, they were thanking God that I was able to breathe on my own and I was alive and stuff. And I'm trying to talk with stuff in my throat. And it's kind of hard to, you know, understand what I'm saying. But, you know, I didn't have a voice, but they could read my lips. And the first words out of my mouth was, "Is everyone okay?" I'm laying in the freaking bed, can't move, can't talk. And the first words out of my mouth that my parents are trying to read from my lips is everyone okay? I said, "Is Dimitri? Is Leon? Is Mark okay?" Now, remember last episode, I told you I saw them get out the car. And they were trying to tell me to get out the car because the car was smoking. But I said, I can't move. But, you know, I must have forgot about that. And I was just making sure they were okay because I didn't know if they had any other injuries besides the injuries that I just told y'all about. I didn't know if they had any other injuries. All I remember is I told them to get out the car because the car was smoking. And I was still strapped to my seatbelt. But I was more worried about their lives at the time than my life. Now, some of y'all would probably, I'm not saying everybody is selfish, but some of y'all probably would have thought about yourself first. Y'all probably would have been like, "Oh my God, why am I like this? I can't move on a..." No. My first sentence was, "Is everyone okay?" I said, "How is everyone doing? How is Dimitri? How is Leon? How is Mark?" And they were like, "Oh, they're all okay. They're all okay. They just had minor injuries." And I was like, "Oh, thank God." And then this is crazy because this is how my dad raised me. Uh, he said, I told my dad, I was like, "Oh man," because I mean, this is October 11th, and I normally pay my car payment and my phone bill on the uh 10th, but I was at A&T on the 10th. So when I got back, I was gonna, when I got back home, I was gonna give my dad, you know, the money uh the next day because we know at Zaxby's we normally get paid every other week on Tuesdays. So I was gonna give him the money the next day for my car payment and my phone bill. Um, and mind you, that Wednesday I was actually supposed to move into my new apartment that me and my cousin Omar, shout out to Omar Lofton, that we had put a down payment on. We was getting ready to get our moving to our new apartment. So because I was making like close to 35, maybe $3,000 a month because I had three jobs plus the battles that I was in, winning those battles, making 500, 700, $800. The performances I had and things like that. You know, I was making a good amount of money to afford the apartment. I was getting ready to pay off my car. I was getting ready to get a sport bike. I forgot it was like a white. I don't know if it was a Yamaha or a Suzuki, but all I know is it was white because my car. I drove a 2000 Toyota Camry. It's a 2001 Toyota Camry, and it was white. So I wanted a white motorcycle, and I was getting ready to get it for Fun Products, and I was getting ready to get me a truck, a white Silverado, um, and yeah, I was about that life, yeah. Because I told y'all I used to ride dirt bikes in last episode. So I was about that life. And my dad had a motorcycle at the time. And so I wanted me a motorcycle. Um, but anyway, um, but yeah, I was more worried about them than me. And then my next thing was like, I said, "Oh my God, Dad, I'm so sorry about the car. What are we gonna do? Um, I was supposed to pay you for the phone bill. I was supposed to pay you for the car payment." My dad was like, son, you are more important than the car and the phone bill. The car is replaceable. You aren't." And my mom was saying the same thing. She said, "Boy, if you don't stop worrying about that daggone car, we worried about you." Now that's the type of man. We don't got those type of men no more. That raised men like that. That's the type of man my dad raised. Go to work on time. Make sure you pay your bills. You like y'all talk about standing on business. I made sure I stood on business every time. Not once did I miss a phone payment, a car payment, or a phone payment. I gave my dad the money, and even though my name was on the title of everything, but he paid the stuff. He went and paid the stuff for me. I just gave him the money because I always had a lot going on. You know, when he would have his days off, he would go handle that stuff at the bank and whatnot, and the phone company. But anyway, uh, but they were like, "Son, the car is replaceable. You are not. We're just worried. We're just thankful to God you're still alive." So, I remember, uh, um, they were worried about pneumonia because, you know, when you're in one spot like that, and they had, and Wait Med, shout out to Wait Med, they made sure they turned me every 2 hours because When you're paralyzed from the waist down or from the neck down and you can't move on your own, you have to be, your body weight has to be shifted from side to side every 2 hours. And I was in the emergency room. So the nurses, CNAs, they made sure that I was tossed and turned on, like from side to side, off my butt every 2 hours. They made sure that I can't remember everybody's names. And shout out to the doctor that did the neck fusion surgery. Doc, I don't know where you at, but thank God for you. God definitely used his hands when you did it, and I just appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. It's probably in my medical records, but like I said, you know who you are. Thank you to the ambulance and uh, the EMS people that got me to Wake Med. I thank God for you. I'm friends with a couple of y'all, but I thank God for you as well. But anyway, um, uh, and thank God that I always thank God that, like I said, if I had to do it all over again, and and it meant Dimitri living, and now he's, you know, got his own fitness center. He's doing well. Mark is working. Got a little son, and Leon got a whole gang of kids. Shout out to you, cuz and he's doing well, working and stuff. So everybody's doing well. But anyway, um, even if I had to do it all over again, and it meant me ended up like this, I'd do it again because I couldn't have someone's death on my conscience like that. So if I had to do it all over again and lean over to keep him from ejecting out the window, I do it over again. And some people, you might think that's cap. Look at me. Listen to my voice. I would not be able to live with myself if my cousins and my best friend would have died in that accident and I lived. And if I knew I could have prevented my cousin from going out that window and I still ended up in this wheelchair, I'd do it all over again. And again and again and again. Because I love him. That's family. That's my friend. Those are my friends. That's called sacrifice. And I was already right with the Lord. So even if I would have died, I know where I would have ended up. But thank God I'm still here to share my story with you. But let's move on to that next Monday. Like I said, I stayed a week at Wake Med, and so they were talking to my parents about rehabilitation centers. I could have stayed at Wake Med, but they said that with the way my injury was, I needed to be at a more advanced facility. And one of the best, I mean one of the absolute best in the world, is the Shepherd Center in Atlanta on Peachtree. And that's where they sent me. That next I went to the hospital, Wake Med, that Monday, October 11th. Then that next Monday, they flew me and my mom. Now, mind you, I'm off life support, but I'm still on a ventilator. I got a trach, tubes down my throat, everything. And back to the pneumonia part. When you can't move, your body builds up fluids, especially in your lungs. So they would have to go down my throat and suck out I hate to sound nasty, but suck out the mucus from my chest. And sometimes I'm telling y'all, that mess would hurt. And it was very uncomfortable. And I don't remember what the name of it is. Sometimes they would use saline, but there was another type of stuff. I think it starts with a B that's very strong and it almost burns a little bit, they wouldn't use that as much. But if like I had a lot of mucus and stuff in my chest, they would use that to break it up and then wait for it to break some of that stuff down in my chest and then use a like a some type of thin tube that's probably about, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 inches. It's pretty long. And it would literally go down my throat and suck it up. It would try to tell me to try and cough, but it was kind of hard when I can only move my neck. And that's what they would have to do to keep me from, building up pneumonia. Because then the next thing I could die from is not only from my injuries, but from having pneumonia in my system. So they flew me and my mom in a private jet. And I'm talking about, when I say private, I mean small enough just for me, my mom, two nurses, and two pilots. That's how small the jet was. And they flew us straight from Wake Med. Well, there was they drove us from an ambulance to a airfield or whatever, and we got on the jet. They transferred me on the jet, and like I said, mind you, I got a portable ventilation system vent that I'm on that went with me. So that's why they had to have two nurses on hand. One was behind me, monitoring and everything, and one was at the foot of me. I mean, was right beside me, at the head of me, like right beside my shoulders, my right shoulder, to make sure, that they will own it if anything happens. Thank God nothing happened. So then once I got to the Shepherd Center in Atlanta, they unpacked me, unloaded me and stuff, and then they took me to the ICU and transferred me from the, uh, stretcher to the bed. At that point, I was like probably about 205, maybe 210 pounds. Uh, and, you know, uh, had haircuts, of course. Hair was growing. My mustache, I didn't have a beard or anything. Cause I was 19. I didn't have, all I had was just this mustache you see and sideburns. That's it. And hair on my head, but whatever. But, you know, I when they incubated me. Now this is nothing against Wait Med or nothing. Like, I'm glad they saved my life, and I'm glad they did what they had to do to save my life. So I'm not. This is not even something where I would be like, oh, this is their fault or something like that. They had to do what they had to do to make sure I lived. They when they incubated me, they scratched a hole in my esophagus. Excuse me, y'all, trying to charge my computer. They scarred my esophagus that ended up opening up a hole in there. Now, it wasn't a very big hole, but it was a big enough hole to where it made me sick. And, you know, they were trying to feed me, like get me to eat, because they would feed me. I couldn't feed myself, of course. So they were trying to, and their food was good now. Shepherd Center, they be on point. They had chicken tenders that looked like it was from Bojangles. They had hamburgers that looked like they were from Five Guys. I mean, they food was A1, but I just couldn't keep anything down. I kept getting sick. All I was doing was really resting a lot, and things like that. So they had to end up basically putting a PIC line I think, in me, or some kind of line in my shoulder to feed me nutrients from a I don't know what it's called, but they had to put something in my shoulder to feed me nutrients in my system, so I would get enough nutrients in my body, because I was like refusing to eat. I was because I kept getting sick. So then they were trying to get me to drink this stuff called Breeze. It's a type of protein uh, um, juice that has a lot of nutrients and stuff in it as well. And I would try to drink it, and you know, I would drink a few sips here and there, and they would try to be like, "Yeah, I drink a little bit more. I drink a little more." But I just kept telling them like, I don't feel right. Something doesn't feel right. Mind you, I could not talk. I have tubes down my throat. I had a thing at the roof of my mouth that every time I swallowed, I could feel it in my throat. Every time I swallowed, I had a trach. That's why you see this hole right here. Well, it's not a hole, it's closed. But that's why you see this little deep, you know, thing right here in my neck. That's where the trach was. Um, ones that hear my voice, of course, you can't see it, but just imagine what a trach is. It's a thing that goes in your throat to help you breathe. That helps you breathe, and they use it to suck out. That's what they use to suck out the mucus from my chest and things like that. And that's where they connected the vent as well to my trach. But I couldn't talk. And y'all ever all of my horse people, yeah, you ever rode a horse? You know, when you call a horse, or when you ride on a horse, you always go. Whenever I wanted a nurse's or a CNA or my parents' attention, I don't know why. I something just in my brain was like, I can't I can't talk, so I can't move my arms, so I need something to get their attention. So I was like, I rode horses before. Shout out to the Holmes family, my family, Lisa Holmes, Mr. Chris Jr., Jasmine, and Josh. God rest his soul, my brother. Um, you know, I just remember riding horses with them a few times, and I know whenever they would ride them, they would go. So I started doing that, and when they did that, they were like, "What kind of sound? What is that?" And once they saw me saying, like mouthing to them, "Come here," that was like my call sign, and it got on my mom's last nerve. Like my dad didn't mind it, but it got on my mom's nerves. Like every time I could be like, she would be like, "Boy, I'd be glad when you talk, cause I'm sick of hearing that." Yeah. I mean, she wasn't saying it in an ugly way, but I mean, she was ready to hear, "Ma, Ma, come here. Hey, come here." Uh, but anyway, um, but yeah, that would be my call sign to get someone's attention. And then because I couldn't move my arms, or move anything, I could move my neck though. So like my surgery was so successful, I was able to move my neck, and they would have me do neck exercises to make my neck strong and stuff. But it took a while. So they would give me a call bell and put it by my head, and if I needed any assistance, I would have to use my neck and turn my head and try to push my forehead or my cheek on the call bell. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. That's when they had this thing. They had like Shepherd Center. Like I said, it's Shepherd Center. Shout out to y'all. It's one of the best centers ever. That's why they had a straw looking type thing that they connected to my bed, that reached out from the connected to the bed and reached all the way to my mouth. And then they had the TV where it wasn't like TVs that's up on a wall. Their TVs in their emergency room or ICU rooms is like right there by your face. And so this is also this also didn't help my, well, I didn't have ADHD then. When you grow up, you drop the H. This also, you know, is why I can, like right now, I can look at TV, record this podcast, and be on my phone at the same time, and and still hold a conversation with somebody. You know, uh, my mom and dad and other folks can never understand it, but that's how, because I hardly would get any sleep. I would be looking at the TV, and then I would be monitoring my stats, because sometimes I would get scared if they would be alerted if my heart rate. Sometimes my heart rate, if it got below 25 or 30 beats per minute or beats per second, bell would ring and automatically alert them, and then they would check on me and ask if I'm doing okay, or they would give me something kind of medicine, because I was hooked up in all types of IVs and things like that, and they would give me some type of medicine to boost my heart rate up or something like that. And at one point, my heart rate got to 10, and that's when I really got scared, because I would, like I said, I would watch TV, and I think this was when the Astros won the World Series that year, or was it the San Francisco Giants? Because there wasn't really, you know, I I really just watched Sports Channel. Matter of fact, I think Julius Sayal had died during that time too. Rest in peace to Julius Sayal. But I was watching the World Series. I was watching ESPN. That's pretty much all I watched. But they gave me a well, I guess that in a minute. But anyway, but that was pretty much all I watched, ESPN. Sports. So I would watch TV, and I would turn my neck and look up at my stats. And I can't remember her name. I think it starts with an S. But God bless you, ma'am. When she was my nurse, or CNA or whatever, at night, when she was working at nights, she would always, she heard that I love music, and she would always uh, give me my iPod, because of course my mom got stuff that I needed from home. My dad would bring it, because my dad worked through the weekend. I mean, through Monday through Friday, and sometimes he would work on the weekend. And any weekend that he was off, he would they gave my mom a room to stay in when you at Shepherd, when you at the ICU. They give you a room to stay in for 30 days, as far as housing, like your family members or whatever. And then after the 30 days, you have to find another place to stay. So that first 30 days, my mom stayed in the housing that they gave them. And my dad would come like every other weekend, because he had to work, pay the bills. And he would stay from he would come in on like Saturday mornings, and then leave uh, Saturday afternoon, so he would make it back to North Carolina in Goldsboro by Sunday evening, or Sunday night, whatever, because he had to go to work Monday to Friday. But also, shout out to Mr. Richard and Miss Lauren, my Zaxby's family, and my church family, Alpha Omega Christian Center. Whenever the 30 days was up, they paid for my mom's stay at a hotel. The whole 5 months I stayed at the Shepherd Center. What organizations or people do you know would do that for a family? And you know why uh, they did it for me? Mr. Richard said one time that, and my boss's boss, his boss, Mr. Tom Little. Shout out to you, Mr. Tom Little. I thank God for you too. And Mr. Archie, his one of Mr. Tom's best friends. Mr. Archie, I don't know if you still living, if you still out there, but I love you. I appreciate you too. He thought all of them thought a lot of me, and they said Brown was such a good worker. This is nothing to us. This is the least we can do for you and your family. And they made sure my mom was taken care of. If she needed something to eat, you know, um, most of the time she would eat in the cafeteria because their cafeteria was nice. They had, like I said, they had a lot of good food. Um, or she would order food or something like that. And then, she would stay with me. She would come in the mornings at like maybe 8:30 and leave about, I think visiting hours ended about, I think about 8, maybe 8:30, 9 maybe. Um, and also shout out to my girlfriend at the time, Jasmine Brewington, um, and Brandon Brewington, her brother, um, Mr. Dennis, God rest in peace, Mr. Dennis Brewington, and Miss Beverly Brewington. Um, they all were there for me while I was in Atlanta. And Jazz, you know, shout out to you always. She held me down while I was in Atlanta because she lived in Atlanta, and she held me down when I was in Atlanta. She would always visit me. Um, she knew out like everyone, you know, that knew me, especially girls and my mom and my dad. Like it says in my adoption papers, if you let him play with your hair or if you rub his head, it'll soothe and calm him down. To this day, it does that, and she knew that. So anytime I couldn't sleep, and, you know, Jazz was by my side, she would always rub my head, and it would calm me down, and I end up with fall asleep. So but yeah, man, I probably spent maybe, I want to say maybe 3.5 weeks in their ICU, and because then I had to go through build a tolerance of being lifted up in the air. They had overhead lifts that was built into the ceiling. Like every hospital needs one. Every hospital needs one. I don't care if it's a community hospital, whatever, like local. Every hospital needs one. But anyway, they had overhead lifts above the bed, and I had to build up a tolerance of being lifted up in a sling out the bed and put into a power wheelchair. And the first step is just being lifted up in the air, because if my blood pressure would either go up or drop dramatically, they had to drop me back down quick and make sure my blood pressure stayed intact. And it took a minute. It took a minute. I had to fight, y'all. I had to literally fight for my life, for my right to live. And I thank God for my strong will and my strong determination, because if it wasn't for that, I would have gave up. But I knew I had something to live for. I knew I had people to live for. And I was determined to, like, my target goal was to stay up for 30 minutes each day in the chair. And then from 30 minutes to an hour. And then from an hour to 2 hours. And once I was able to get off the vent, once I was able to tolerate sitting up for 2 hours, Then that's when I can move up to the rehab center on the fourth floor. But I was it took about maybe 3 weeks from the first day I got there in the ICU to when they finally moved me up to the fourth floor, to the rehab floor, um, to build up a tolerance to sit in a chair. And then again, they would check every day to see if I got any new feeling. And by the time I got up to the rehab floor, I could move my arms. Now, they were still weak. I couldn't move them as strong, as you see now. Those of you that are listening, you can't see, but I couldn't move them like I can now. I could barely lift them up like this, but I could at least lift them and move my wrist. And they would check every single day from my neck, my chest, my stomach, my hands, and the back of my arms and the front of my arms. They would do a field test to see where my feelings stopped or what new feelings I got over time. And once I was able to move my arms, they moved me up to the fourth floor to the rehab center. This might be a little long because, like I said, it's a lot to take in, but I'm gonna try not to make it too long. But anyway, but yeah, man. And then, like I said, I did it quicker. They said I made it to the rehab floor quicker than most people ever had. That's God. That's God. And that's my strong will. That was my motivation because I was tired of being in that ICU place, hearing all that noise and checking my stats to see if, am I gonna die today? Like what's my heart rate now? Like I was tired of that. And so, and then they had to train me how to control a wheelchair with my mouth when I couldn't move my shoulders or my arms or my hands to control a wheelchair. They had a straw that was connected. They put me in a wheelchair. There was a straw that came around, like the straws that I told you that was on my bed, to control. I would blow in it, and the light it would notify them that I wanted a nurse to come in or something, or it's my CNA. They had a thing hooked up to the chair that came to my mouth, and if I wanted the chair to go forward, I would take a deep breath and blow in it for it to go forward. If I wanted it to reverse, I would take a deep breath and suck the air in and go, and that would make the chair go backwards. If I wanted it to go to the left, it was a quick blow in it, like, and it would turn. If I wanted it to go to the right, it sounds crazy, but if I wanted it to go to the right, I think I had to blow in it 2 times and go real quick, and it would go to the right. I had to learn that in a week, and I mastered it in 3 days. And then once I said my feelings came back in my hands and arms and stuff like that, that's when it was like, okay, he's ready to go up to the rehab floor. So I went to the fourth floor, got my room. I can't remember what my room number was, and I was still on the vent. Now the next steps after that is weaning. It's called weaning yourself off, like weaning yourself off drugs. Like if you take say if you taking, like, your regimen is taking I don't know, for diabetic people, there's a certain medicine that you have to take every day. And then, or no, I give it. If I'll do another example. Say for instance that like your regimen is taking a For people that take pain pills, your regimen is taking a oxy like 3 times a day. And so once you start, say like you just got out of surgery or something, and you having pains, and they gave you an oxy prescription to take like 3 times a day. And then once you start feeling better, you can't just stop cold turkey. No, 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 no. You have to wean yourself off of it. So instead of 3 times tablets a day, you might go to 2 tablets. And then after a couple weeks, you go to 1 tablet. And then after another couple weeks, you take no tablets. Now your body has gotten used to not taking so much pain medicine or medicine. Now you've weaned yourself off of it. That had to happen for me when I had my trach and I was on that vent that was breathing, helping breathe for me. Each day they would give me a goal and say, okay, we're gonna cap off, we're gonna take the vent off, and you're gonna breathe nothing but oxygen air, room air. And they would put a cap over my arms, like a big cap. It's like, I don't know. It was like the size of a this is a bottle cap. It was about the size of where this ends up to the top. It's like a big bottle cap, whatever. And so they would take me off the vent after they washed me, put my clothes on and stuff. They would take me off the vent and put the cap on, and I would breathe room air. My first one was an hour. I was like, no, let's do 2. Now, mind you, I still can't talk. So they still are having to read my lips. And it's hard to read somebody's lips. When you can't do sign language, you can't talk. So they had to read my lips. Sometimes they would ask me, is it this letter? I would say no. They would have to get a board out and a marker and be like, is it this letter? I'd be like, no. What does it start with? And I would have to try to do my best. And it was frustrating for them just as much as me. Like, I'm used to talking like I am now. Like, I'm used to I'm used to talking, man. I can't, like, what? You mean to tell me I gotta go every time I need somebody's attention? And they got to read my lips? You know how hard it is to read lips if you don't know how to do sign language, or if you're not used to reading somebody's lips? Like, I met the great Lou Ferrigno. He's deaf in both ears, but he can read lips very well. I met him at a Comic-Con in like 2018 or 2019. I even got a picture with him. And he can read your lips, and he can talk well. He don't talk like a deaf person or whatever. He talks very well. And I was like, how can you hear? How do you understand what I'm saying? Yet you're deaf in both ears. He was like, I can read your lips. I'm like, genius. But anyway, that was a fun moment. But anyway, but yeah, man, like, it was just frustrating, like, to go from singing, rapping, having fun with my friends, using my body to express myself through dance and mime, and I can't do any of that right now. I'm 19. I'm still a kid. Ain't even old enough to drink yet, man. And I'm having to grow up quick. But I said, no, we gonna do 2 hours. They said, you sure? I said, I promise you. Did 2 hours. And they put me right back on the vent. By the 5th day, I was off the vent. I was capped off the whole. By the 5th, now mind you, I spent about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks in the ICU. Went upstairs to the 4th floor. Took me 5 days to get weaned off the vent. and I was capped off after that. Then it was time to downsize my trach so I could breathe and get air pushed through it so I could talk. So they downsized my trach now that I was off the vent. They did that the next week because they wanted to give me some more time to get my diaphragm, get my strength together and stuff. And I was doing breathing treatments and things like that to make my, breathing strong. And so I could cough stuff up because I still was having to get, what do they call it? Uh, I forgot the medical term. I normally know it. There's so many things that, like I said, I've been through. But when they go down the suction, they would still have to suction me from time to time because some stuff I couldn't get up. And they would have me practice how to, like I can get stuff up easily now, but in order to get the stuff deep down, I have to kind of lean back in my chair and then use my arms, the armrest, to get stuff up. And it takes a lot of strength, trust me, but I've, you know, gotten stronger over the years, working out, things like that, therapy and things, so I can cough stuff up so I don't get pneumonia. But anyway, it took me 5 days to get weaned off the vent. And I remember I called my mom when they downsized my trach and they put a red little button cap over it so I could talk. And my voice sounded like a robot. Like it sounded like the people that put the little microphone robotic thing to their throats, it sounded like that a little bit. And I remember I was like, "Can I call my mom?" And they were like, "Yeah." So they called my mom from the phone that I had in the room, and I called. I was like, "Hey." They was like, "Who's this?" My mom was like, "Who's this?" I was like, "This is Brian." They said, "Stop." My mom said, "Stop lying. Who is this?" I said, "Ma, it's me." She was like, "Oh my God, Brian?" I said, "Yeah, Ma, I can talk." And the reason why I'm talking like that is because, like I said, I didn't have a lot of strength. I had to build up that strength. So some things would tire me out. It would tire me out just to talk. You see, I'm not tired now, I'm good, but it would tire me out just to talk. And so I would be like, I'm talking, Ma. I'm talking. And she started crying. She's like, "I know, baby, I know. I'm on my way to see you right now." I was like, "Okay, I'll see you when you get here." And it was just like a beautiful thing, man. And I'm gonna leave you on this with this. Um uh like I said, I went from 210 pounds to 117 pounds. Listen to that. From the day from the week of the accident, by that next Monday before I went to Shepherd Center, I was 210 pounds. I was like 190, 190, 195 when I got in the accident. Because I won't like built, but I was like, cut. I lift weights and stuff. I was an athletic build. But once I left weight med, I was 210. Got to Shepherd Center, I was 210. Because of me not eating and stuff like that, I went down to 117. All skin and bones. Like you see, I got cheeks now. My face was like deflated in a little bit to where it didn't even look like me. Like I looked like somebody else. Every time I looked in the mirror, I was like, I look sick. And I was sick because I had that hole in my throat. And I'm gonna leave it with that because I explain later in the next episode the therapy, what happened that 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 made them found out I had a hole in my throat, and just a little more of my experience at the Shepherd Center, and that'll be on the next episode. But anyway, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Be blessed. I pray that y'all enjoyed this episode 2 of This Could Be You. Episode 3 will drop on the next Monday. And yeah, man. Uh, love is love. Appreciate life while you can, because all it takes is 3 seconds, and this could be you. Stay motivated as always. All right, y'all. Peace.